All right, let's dive right in. Today, we're taking a close look at the economic survey for 2025-26, and we're zoning in on a sector that's really the backbone of the Indian economy, agriculture and rural development. And this is about so much more than just crops and statistics. We're talking about livelihoods, about building resilience, and really about the roadmap for what a prosperous rural India could look like. So let's see what the survey has to say. To really get the big picture, you have to start with the sheer scale of India's economy. It's massive, it's dynamic. But within this huge system, the economic survey makes one thing crystal clear. Agriculture is absolutely central to the country's entire growth story, and just as importantly, to its ambitions for the future. And here's the number that just stops you in your tracks. Almost half, 46.1%, of the entire workforce is tied to agriculture. Think about that for a second. This isn't just some economic sector on a spreadsheet. It's the primary way hundreds of millions of people make a living. So how this sector performs, that directly affects the well-being of a massive part of the population.
So what's the situation on the ground right now? Well, the survey paints this really fascinating picture. On one hand, you've got real, measurable progress. But on the other, there are these significant gaps and some pretty complicated issues under the surface. It's almost like a tale of two different realities happening at the exact same time.
Now, check this out. What's so interesting here is you can see a clear acceleration in growth over time. Just look at that last decade, 2015 to 2025. The agricultural sector grew at 4.45% every year. That's the fastest it's grown in 30 years. So on the surface, that looks like a fantastic story, right? But the survey tells us we've got to dig a little deeper.
And this is where that complexity I mentioned really comes into play. That strong headline growth number, it's largely being propped up by the steady, really solid performance of what they call allied sectors, things like livestock and fisheries. Meanwhile, the crop sector, which is actually the biggest piece of the pie, has been way more up and down, much more volatile, without consistent gains in productivity. This means the overall stability is kind of masking some pretty big challenges for farmers who are just growing crops.
But of course, progress never comes without a fight. The economic survey is really honest about the major headwinds that the sector is up against. And these aren't just small bumps in the road. We're talking about serious structural challenges that could threaten future growth and the sustainability of the whole system.
So here they are, the big 5 hurdles the survey points to. You've got the huge pressure of climate change and just not having enough water. Then there are these problems that have been around for a while, like farms being too small and fragmented to be efficient, not enough modern machinery being used, and the fact that for some really key crops, the yields have basically flatlined. I mean, each one of these is a massive challenge on its own.
And the survey really doesn't pull any punches, especially when it comes to the climate threat. This quote says it all. Climate change isn't some problem for the future, it's happening right now. It's directly messing with crop yields and making farming, which is already a tough job, even more unpredictable.
Okay, so you're facing all these challenges. What do? Well, the survey lays out a pretty comprehensive strategy. This isn't about finding one single magic bullet. It's about a whole toolkit of different programs and policies designed to build resilience from the ground up. Now, a huge piece of this strategy is all about empowering farmers to work together. They're called Farmer Producer Organizations, or FPOs. The whole idea is to tackle that problem of small, fragmented farms. See, by banding together into these collectives, farmers suddenly have the scale they need to get better access to markets, negotiate better prices, and maybe even invest in some of that modern tech. And this idea of connection is a theme that runs through everything. A huge part of the government's game plan is to bridge the gaps that have historically kept farmers isolated. It's all about connecting them to bigger markets, to more transparent pricing, and to the money they need to invest in their own farms and grow. And one of the most powerful tools for making that connection is something called the eNAM platform. Just imagine, by linking over 1,500 of these traditional agricultural markets, or mandis, into one single online network, you're creating a massive, nationwide marketplace. This helps farmers see the best prices available anywhere, not just locally, which breaks down old monopolies and really ramps up competition.
And just look at the scale of this push for farmers to band together. The goal was to set up 10,000 new FPOs. And they've done it. This isn't some small pilot program. It's a massive effort to fundamentally change how farmers interact with the marketplace. But it's not just about market access. The survey points to this whole ecosystem of support. You've got the Agriculture Infrastructure Fund, which helps reduce waste after the harvest.
PM Kisan gives farmers direct income support, which brings stability. The SMAM mission helps them get their hands on modern machines. And Kisan credit cards make sure they can get affordable loans. Altogether, it's designed to be a pretty comprehensive safety net.
So, you've got the challenges, you've got the toolkit of solutions, but where is all this actually heading? What's the end game? Well, the survey frames it as a very clear path, a path leading towards a prosperous and resilient rural India.
This quote from the survey really says it all. The goal isn't just to keep agriculture afloat. It's to position it as a core engine for India's entire development journey, to become what's called Viksit Bharat, a developed nation. It's about using this massive sector to drive growth that actually includes everyone and lifts millions of people up.
So how do we get there? The survey lays out a very clear roadmap for the future. First, tackle that water crisis head-on. Second, double down on research and development to create crops that can withstand climate change. Third, reform how fertilizers are used to protect the health of the soil. And finally, encourage farmers to grow different crops that are better suited to their local environment. This is basically the blueprint.
And that brings us to the big question, doesn't it? The economic survey gives us a detailed diagnosis of the problems and a pretty comprehensive prescription for what to do. It shows a sector that's growing, but is also fragile. A sector supported by ambitious plans but facing some really powerful headwinds. The success of this whole transformation, it's not just important for farmers, it's absolutely central to India's entire economic future. So, will this blueprint be enough to power the nation forward? The survey seems to suggest the path is clear, but the journey, well, that's going to be a marathon.